let's talk about AI, because I think we need to fundamentally change the way we think about it. The old metaphors, the ones we all use, they're holding us back. So in this explainer, we are going to build a new and frankly, a way more fascinating mental model for how these systems actually work. Let's get into it. It all starts with a question that seems totally natural to ask. When you're talking to an AI, where does it store all that information? It seems simple enough, right? But here's the thing. Asking the question that way, well, that's the first mistake. It's built on an idea that's just completely wrong. Our gut, our intuition, pictures this giant digital filing cabinet. A massive library of facts that an AI can just search through in a split second. But the reality, it's something so much stranger, so much more dynamic than that. It's what's called a probability field. So let's unpack what that actually means. Okay, first things first. Let's explore why our brains trick us into picturing a filing cabinet in the first place. This isn't just some random mistake. It's actually rooted in the very way we're wired to see the world around us. See, here's the problem. Our brains evolved over millions of years to understand objects, rocks, trees, tools. We think in terms of distinct things. But in AI, it doesn't operate on the level of things at all. It operates in gradients, in this smooth, continuous flow of possibilities. It's a classic case of us trying to cram a brand new kind of process into an old, object-shaped box. It just doesn't fit. And this analogy just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly shows how absurd our initial question really is. A river doesn't store its curves in a folder somewhere. The curves are just an expression of the water flowing through a landscape. The wind doesn't have a file labeled north. The direction is simply what the wind is. And the knowledge in an AI is exactly the same. It's an emergent property, not a stored item. So if it's not a database, not a library, what the heck is it? This is where we build that new mental model, where we throw out the filing cabinet and start thinking about the much more accurate idea of a field. This right here is the core idea. You have to forget about shelves and drawers and files. Instead, I want you to picture a vast, complex, totally invisible landscape, a terrain made of pure potential. This terrain is made up of hills of high probability and deep valleys of low probability. It's got slopes and contours and saddles. But here's the crucial part. There are no labels, no folders, no neatly organized drawers anywhere. It is just pure, interconnected geometry. So what's happening when you type a prompt? You are not submitting a search query. Nope. You're doing something much more like dropping a tiny marble at a very specific point onto that massive landscape. The AI's response? It's simply the path that marble takes as it rolls through all those hills and valleys of probability. The answer isn't fetched from a file, it's generated, brand new, by the marble's journey. Let's get really specific with this. A model doesn't store static things. It doesn't store sentences. It stores the relationships between all the possibilities. It doesn't store a concept like love. It stores the pushes and pulls, the pressures between all the related concepts. And it for sure doesn't store facts. It stores this incredibly complex web of statistical tensions that when you drop that marble in, produces facts. Once you get this in your head, it completely changes how you should think about interacting with AI. If we're not searching a library, what are we really doing when we write a prompt? The old way of thinking is that a prompt is a query, a request for information. The new and much more correct idea is that a prompt is a boundary condition. You're not asking a clerk to go find a file for you. You're setting the rules for a tiny, temporary universe and then watching to see what happens inside it. Think about it like a physicist. It's like you're setting the temperature and pressure in a sealed container of gas to see what it does. Or you're putting electrodes into plasma just to see what kind of patterns form. With every single word in your prompt, you are literally bending that probability field, you're tilting the landscape, and you're changing the path that your marble is about to take. Okay, this brings us to that uncanny feeling that a lot of us have had, that weird sense that the AI is, well, alive. This probability field model, it actually explains that feeling perfectly. It's the big question, right? The one on everyone's mind. If it's just math and geometry and probabilities, why does the interaction feel so much like a conversation? Why does it feel like you're talking to a thinking being? Well, it's because we've seen this kind of thing before. Think about other huge, complex, dynamic systems. A weather system feels alive, doesn't it? It has moods and behaviors. The financial markets feel alive. They have fear and greed. A crowd of people can feel like a single living entity. These complex fields always feel alive to us. So the key idea here is this concept of emergent intention. It's not real consciousness or intention. What it means is that when you have an incredibly complex system and you put it under a set of constraints, which is your prompt, the behavior it produces looks like it has a purpose. The result resembles intention. So what you're experiencing isn't really a dialogue, not in the traditional sense. It's more like a resonance event. Your mind, which is its own kind of probability field for language and meaning, is literally touching the AI's vast statistical field. And the conversation you're having, that's the interference pattern that gets created right where those two fields overlap. And that leads us to the final, and I have to say, the most profound twist in this entire story. The very thing that makes this technology feel so strange is also what makes it feel so familiar. And here it is, the great irony of it all. We look at this system that just generates plausible stories based on statistical patterns, and we criticize it. We say it doesn't truly know things, but when we do that, we are literally pointing the finger at a mirror. Because modern neuroscience tells us that our own memory doesn't work like a hard drive. It's not archival, it's reconstructive. When you remember something, your brain is actually generating that memory fresh, on the spot, weaving together little fragments based on probabilities. We don't just retrieve memories. We, too, are probabilistic storytellers. So, what do we do with all this? Where do we go from here? Understanding AI as a probability field, it really changes everything about how we should talk about it, how we should use it, and how we should think about our future with it. So, here's a really practical takeaway. Let's start using a new vocabulary. Instead of saying the AI knows something, let's say it shapes a plausible answer. Instead of it remembers, let's say it predicts what word should come next. And instead of saying it understands, we should say it enables understanding. In us, the user. Just that little shift in language will keep our thinking so much more clear and accurate. So what is an AI, really? It's not a filing cabinet, it's not a brain. It is something entirely new, a mirror made of math. One that reflects the patterns of our own language and our own thoughts right back at us. It's a storm of human language probability that through training has learned to speak. And understanding that is the first real step to truly harnessing its power.